All right. Thanks everybody for joining us here today. Joining me, I'm Mr. SoundOff. Thank you for joining SoundOff at the SoundOff Network. I think I might be to want to call. So who's going to join in? Who's going to join into the SoundOff Network? All right. Maybe we have some other guests on. We have some other people doing some of their own shows as well, and we all kind of collaborate on this the SoundOff Network. Anyway, it's been a little while since I did a video, but just got back from a trip that I had. To the Midwest, to the upper Midwest, and it was fantastic. Got to go to a bunch of different places, do a lot of different sports events and things there in St. Paul, Minneapolis. Got to go to a Saints game in St. Paul, bunch of Twins games over to Lambeau Field, which was amazing. Got to do the Lambeau tour over there. Fortunately, the Packers were out of town, and they're getting ready, of course, and they had to get out of there. Well, they had a game actually while I was um, doing something for Major League Baseball. I had an event for Major League Baseball on Saturday when they were having their preseason game there in Green Bay, and then they had to get ready and you know go on their way down to Brazil to get ready for their first game of the season. So got over to Lambeau Field, got to go see that. That was amazing, and then down to Milwaukee to finish it off to see a few different Brewers games down there, which was also incredible. So fantastic trip. Did get delayed a little bit coming back, so got a little bit extra time in Vegas, which really can't complain about that too much. But I'm fine. I'm finally back and getting going with the show here. So thank you guys for sticking with us or coming back and watching the show. I wanted to get this video out before the start of the NFL season, so I had a short kind of little window that I had where I can put this out. I also gotta leave here again today. Going to San Francisco here for a couple days, and actually getting to see some 41 doing their farewell tour back to back nights here tonight and tomorrow night in San Francisco. So like I said, short window that I had to kind of put out this video here in between coming back from the trip and when I'll be leaving, and then the start of the season is here. It's already coming here on Thursday. So I wanted to put out the video of my NFL preseason rankings, and I wanted to try to get this out before the season actually started. Right, so this will be my first rankings of the season. I'm gonna try to keep up with this and do this every week, right? And I think it's kind of fun to see all 32 teams where these teams rank at. There might be some teams that are going to be on the bottom, the very bottom, the bottomy bottom, as I say, not the tippy top. Um, that might be starting at 28, 30, 32, something like that there. And how high can those teams climb? Right? I'm sure there's going to be some teams that injuries are a big part of the NFL season. You got rookies, you got new head coaches, new coordinators. It's hard to do an exact science of predicting this stuff, and teams can drastically change during an NFL season. We saw it last year with the Green Bay Packers, right? They were pretty good through the beginning parts of the season. I think they were like 3-5 or something like that. Jordan Love was looking, maybe mediocre. Having some games where he was good and other games where he wasn't. And then all of a sudden, what was it, the last 8 weeks of the regular season, tore it up and was like the best quarterback in the NFL. Also, the Chicago Bears, they had the number one defense in the NFL for the last 8 weeks of the NFL season last year, right? So, anyways, things can change quite a bit, but we'll see throughout the season where these teams go up or down. What will be crazy to see is if any of these teams at the very bottom, all right, these teams in the 22 through 32 range or 25 to 32 range can get up in that top 10, or if any of those teams in those top 10 drop all the way back down to be in, the 25th, 28th ranked team. That would be crazy if it's that drastic of a change, right? So we're gonna go ahead and get started here with the list. And what you'll start to see here in a second is the bottom of this list here where we're starting. Right. I have the Carolina Panthers, uh, as the caboose team there, bringing in the bottom for my NFL preseason rankings here for Sound Off. So at number 32, we have the Carolina Panthers, young team. Some struggles last year. The quarterback didn't really have a whole lot of weapons, offensive line, not that great, all those kind of things. I'm not really sure how much they've really improved upon a lot of those things in this offseason, but it'll at least be his second year, right? And they got a little better in some of those different spots. So I think they're maybe going to be a better team than last year. Still maybe going to be good enough to be the worst team in the NFL. They might be competing with the New England Patriots for that spot, though, right? The Patriots look pretty rough almost across the board. I think that Drake May maybe has more talent than Bryce Young does, though. But he's not starting the season, and he might not come in for quite a while. And just because he's maybe more talented, can throw the ball further, faster, harder, that kind of thing. There doesn't necessarily equate to wins, right? Doesn't equate to just being a better quarterback. So, when he gets in there, they've been saying he's a work in progress, and he's going to have his ups and downs once he finally does get into the games for the Patriots. The Tennessee Titans, they're kind of in this rebuild mode. Derrick Henry's no longer there. What's their identity going to be like? Is Will Levis going to be able to progress to being better than he was last year? Is he who he was in his rookie year? Is he going to take a step back? Those kind of things there. But I also don't think that they have a ton of weapons around that team as well. Rabel's no longer there anymore, so we'll see where it goes with them. New York Giants. It's going to be about Danny Dimes over there, right? And seeing if he can actually improve finally. And I was a kind of a believer in him before. I thought that he didn't have the weapons on the New York Giants previously, but he still maybe doesn't. But he does have neighbors. He does have one seemingly legit, you know, number one wide receiver, to throw the ball to, and then all of a sudden Saquon leaves. Is their offensive line very good? No. So kind of feel for him. But I think overall, that's where the Giants are going to be. Xavier McKinney also left. He's on the Packers now, so their best defensive player is essentially gone. And I know they got a good defensive line there, though. But yeah, I think the Giants are going to be, competing for one of the worst teams in the NFL this year as well. Washington Commanders, they did a whole bunch of good stuff in the offseason, right? So, one of the probably the top five teams in the offseason for moves they made and how much they improved from last year, including getting Jane Daniels as far as a rookie quarterback that I think is going to be solid for them. So that'll be cool to see exactly where they go throughout the season. Um, they might start off a little slow. Jaden Daniels also, like a lot of rookie quarterbacks, has going to have his ups and downs. I could definitely see the Washington Commanders not being on this bottom list here by the end of the season, maybe being more towards the middle. Las Vegas Raiders. I'm actually a big old Gardner Minshew fan, so I do think that he's underrated. Underrated. What does that mean exactly for him? Is he rated as the 28th best quarterback, and he's actually going to be the 20th best quarterback? 18th best, something like that there. 18th to 22nd best quarterback in the NFL. Well, that's not going to be good enough to really take them into probably being a playoff team. The defense is good, not great. I feel for Devontae, they do have some pieces there on the offense. Offensive line is not really that good. How good is White at running back now that Jacobs is gone there, that kind of thing. Bowers should have torn up last year, but they had no one to really throw the ball. So Raiders might stick around that area there as well. Arizona Cardinals is going to be about Kyler Murray really coming back and having a full season under his belt. They've been a pretty solid offensive team for quite a while with Kyler Murray there. Kingsbury is no longer there anymore. I don't think the defense is as good as it was maybe a couple years ago. But they did bring in Marvin Harrison Jr., which is a stud, is an absolute beast of a wide receiver. So we're going to see an awesome connection between Kyler and him all season long. And, maybe they're able to outscore teams and their defense is able to be okay enough for them to do something. But I think they're going to probably be around this spot here at 26th. The Denver Broncos is an interesting one where I could see them climbing up this. Bo Nix looked awesome in preseason, right? What I think he was also the quarterback that had the most game time out of all the rookie quarterbacks coming into this NFL draft. Highest completion percentage. He looks good. He's got, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, doing his play calling for him. Some good wide receivers. They weren't really able to show with Russell Wilson last year. Pretty solid offensive line. Good, not as good of a defense as they had a few years ago. They kind of traded away some of those guys. Maybe thought they were rebuilding, that kind of thing there. But the Denver Broncos, I could see climbing up this list as well. Same thing for the New Orleans Saints at 24. They have pretty solid defense. Maybe it's getting a little older. Maybe it's not as good as it was a couple years ago. Maybe some of it's also getting to play against the NFC South there. Makes them look a little better than what they are. But they've had some awesome games against great offenses too, and look good there. So, how good is that defense still? Derek Carr, what guy is he? Is he the Pro Bowl quarterback that he was once or twice on the Raiders? Or is he also like Gardner Minshew? Is he also the 18th to 25th best quarterback in the NFL? Right, and that'll determine a lot for them to see where they're going to go. Minnesota Vikings, I think they have a solid defense, a solid group all around, offensive line, defense. Wide receivers, tight end. I know Hodgkinson is hurt for the first 4 games or whatever of the season. Aaron Jones went over there. It's really the quarterback in play. Sam Darnold again. He also was on teams before that didn't really have the tools, didn't really have the offensive line, wide receivers, that kind of thing. Never got a full shot, but you know I think we've seen enough of him to know, okay, I don't think he's ever going to be that top tier guy like he was drafted out to be, right? So I think he'll limit the Vikings a little bit, but I do think they're going to be a challenging team all season long, and again, also could be up a little higher than this here. Seattle Seahawks, new head coach. I think this is going to be a little bit of the Pete Carroll being gone, effect from this team, and Geno Smith is the pumpkin, hitting midnight here. Is the clock hitting midnight for Geno Smith and the pumpkin story? Is he what he's been on the Seahawks for the last 2 years? Maybe not as good last year as he was the year before that, or is he the guy that he was the first like what 8 years or something like that in the NFL? And okay to pretty bad as a quarterback. Um, so I'll have to see there. They did get the Ravens defensive coordinator. So, are they still a playoff team? I don't think they're like a top 10 team. I think tops they get to 12 or 14. I don't really think they go much lower in this, though. I think they're a pretty solid team there for the Seattle Seahawks. And that is our bottom of the list here. And then we'll get up into the middle tier, all right, of our bracket, which starts off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers, I think, had the best roster I've ever seen put together on an NFL squad a few years ago when Tom Brady was there. They were slightly below that before Tom Brady got there, which is why he basically chose to go to that team. Also, the NFC South was pretty weak, but some of those guys now, that was 3, 4 years ago and those kind of things. And so a lot of the team is getting older or has moved on, is either like retired, on and signed with other teams. So they're not quite the same team they were on defense or offense that they were during those years. I also think Baker has had history of having like a good year or a good stretch or a good game, or a really great game like on a new team, on the circumstances, and then kind of falling back the rest of the season or the next season after that. That would be this year for them. So I don't think he'll be horrible, but I don't think he'll be as good as he was last year. The rest of the team is not as good, still pretty solid, so they're going to be in the middle there somewhere. Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be just a ton about Trevor Lawrence and what he can do, right? It's going to be about that guy. Defense is pretty solid. Not great. Offense has some tools. They got ETN over there. They got some receivers. It's really going to be a matter of if he can stay healthy and if he can continue to progress from where he was looking at. I mean, this was a playoff team 2 years ago. So we're exactly there. Continue to go from here will be on him. Pittsburgh Steelers, the team that seemingly is always in the middle of of the NFL power rankings or standings every single season. Russell Wilson's going to be about him, right? And if Russell Wilson's having a rough season, they're gonna have a rough season. And that doesn't that even means if he's having a rough season and they bring in Justin Fields, I think it'll be too far gone. I don't really think Justin Fields is really exactly the answer either. It will be interesting to see though, because their defense could possibly be even better than they were before. They got Patrick Queen on their team now from the Ravens, a guy that I wanted the Packers to draft a few years ago, coming out of college, and then I wanted the Packers to sign as a rookie, or not as a rookie, but as a free agent linebacker coming from the Ravens. But he went over to the Steelers. So the defense is definitely going to be the thing that holds him in there. Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen, awesome coach. Actually, coach of the local high schools and teams around here where I'm from. Uh, Friends of or relatives of friends of mine, that kind of thing. There, love seeing him in Philly, and he's doing the same thing in Indianapolis now. Can his quarterback actually stick around and stay healthy for an entire season? They have the running game. They have some good wide receivers over there. Defense is pretty good. That team I could definitely see on the rise there. Los Angeles Chargers at the 17 spot. That's a tough one. Where's this team going to be at? It seems like they have no wide receivers. They took over the Ravens, both their running backs that have been off and on injured and just okay running backs for the Ravens for the last couple of years. Their defense has been underperforming for years. Um, with their previous head coach, and he was a defensive guy. So Harbaugh's not. Harbaugh's more of an offensive guy, but it's the mentality, right? That's different with him. I think that's going to change around his team quite a bit. He also has the whole thing looming over his head right now of University of Michigan and them vacating his wins for cheating. I don't really necessarily think that it was Harbaugh's doing, but did he benefit from people on his staff, cheating and doing this kind of stuff? And did that help out Harbaugh and the Wolverines win more games? Absolutely. But it's really going to come down to his play style and the players in the field and how they can be for the Chargers to see if they can continue to climb there. For the Los Angeles Rams, I think it's all about losing Aaron Donald for me. Pretty good team, really all around. Just a generational talent like Aaron Donald does not come around very often, right? That's why it's a generational talent. And he was at a prime position to help out essentially every single other position on that field. If you're a safety or something like that, you're maybe not always helping out in a run play or a quick slant or something like that there. A pass on the outside, right? Outside the numbers. But Aaron Donald helped out with everything. All right. So I think they're gonna miss him tremendously. And that would be the one thing that could hold this team back, because other than that, they're really pretty solid all across the board. At 15, I got the Buffalo Bills. They're not as good as they were on defense last few years. Definitely not as good as they were 3 or 4 years ago. They've lost some pieces from the defensive side. They've lost now Stephon Diggs, Singletary. They've lost some pieces from the offensive side. Josh Allen, love him. I think he's amazing, and it'll really be as far as he can carry him, and he's going to be able to carry him a long way. I do think this team will probably be a playoff team, but it's going to be tough. I think that AFC East is a little better now as well, and they have fallen back a little bit. Cleveland Browns, you're talking about what the maybe the most dominant team in defensively wise in the NFL right now. Um, it's not Steel Curtain or something like that, 85 Bears or something like that, but they got a great defense on that team. Can Deshaun Watson turn around and start earn his paychecks, that kind of thing there, to bring that team up higher than what they are, or are they going to be pretty anemic like they were at times last year? Dallas Cowboys, a ton of talent. Don't know if it's really going to come together. I don't think I've ever seen a team that said they were all in and do less to be all in than I've seen what the Dallas Cowboys did this offseason. I mean, what they bring back Ezekiel Elliott. That's your main guys, your running back. He wasn't really good enough to stay in your team last year. So you let him go, and then you bring him back because you have no other options. And his numbers were already declining with the 4 years, 5 years in a row before you let him go. So that's your starter there as your running back. CeeDee Lamb missing all this time. I don't know how the timing's going to be exactly between him and Dak and stuff like that on offense. Defense is not going to be as good as they were before as well. I could definitely see the Dallas Cowboys dropping back and not being at this 13th spot and not going higher than this here throughout the season. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, is he going to be able to stay healthy? Are they going to keep Jamar Chase? Right now, he's as of today, he was at practice but not practicing. He has 2 years left on his contract, so a little bit different than a lot of other holdouts. But still, the timing's not going to be there, and you wonder if he's actually going to play at all season. I mean, that's going to be gigantic for them. The defense is pretty solid, defensively team. Joe Burrow is obviously awesome. Joe Mixon is no longer there anymore, so they got to kind of have a patchwork of running backs. So we'll see here how that team goes. And the Miami Dolphins, really super talented team. How healthy can Tua stay? How good can that defense be? I don't think they're maybe also as good as they were, what, 2, 3 years ago, but it's still a pretty solid defensive team on out there. Great offensive play calling. They should, have a pretty solid team, and I think they're a playoff team as well. And we finally then get up into that upper echelon, right? The tippy top, right, of our teams here is going to be starting out with the Chicago Bears.